guys, Kaz here. Today it is the first Monday of the month, which means of course Media Monday time. This is a video I do every month where I talk about just non-bookish things. It can be stuff that I've watched, stuff that I've photographed, experienced, escape rooms, places I've gone, all the fun stuff that's not books. So like always, I'll start with stuff that I watched and then we'll get into the more interesting bits afterwards. There's quite a lot in October. So first of all, a couple of things I watched TV show wise. Obviously the most recent season of Heartstopper came out, so I just smashed that and watched it all in one go. Of course, the episodes are so short. Everybody knows what Heartstopper is, whether you like it or have seen it or have read it or don't. You know what it's about. It's about a group of friends, it's about Charlie, it's about Nick and them existing and dating. But also this season is where it got a little bit darker, which also happened in the comics as well. And yes, I very much enjoyed it. I know Olivia Colman couldn't do this season, so I think the way that they changed some of the bits there was done very well. For example, well, Olivia Colman plays Nick's mum in the series, and in this season there were some really big conversations that happened with her and Nick, but the way they did it with his like auntie, I think, that he met, I think it was well done to make them have the conversation instead. But yeah, I very much enjoyed it, of course. It's just a fun time to watch, so yeah. Next up, I watched a TV show called A Confession, and about 2 minutes in I was watching, I was like, this seems familiar. And about 5 minutes in, I realised that it's based off this book, A Killer's Confession and A Mother's Fight for the Truth by Karen Edwards. So I read this last year, the year before, whatever, and it's true crime. It's about this, well, the mum wrote the book, and basically her daughter was missing for ages. People kept saying that they seen her out and about, so she was never reported missing because like they thought she was just out and about. She was on drugs, she did some prostitution, so it was very much like they thought she was safe enough in a way, but also they hadn't seen her for ages. And then another girl goes missing, is killed. The police find the killer, and then the killer's like, oh, I'll take the body, do you want another body? And they find out that their daughter has been dead this whole time. And it basically goes from there. The TV show follows the police, it also follows the families of these two women. And yeah, I do think that reading the book first was a good thing because I had even more information than the TV show gave, but I also think the TV show was really well done, and it had Martin Freeman as the main police guy, and yeah, I think it was really good. But I also definitely highly recommend reading the source material, reading like from the mother's perspective of this girl, because it's really frustrating. Like, it's not spoilers because it's a real thing that happened, so I'm just gonna like give you the basic outline. Basically, like, the guy confessed, but because they didn't take him to the police area first and they just did it in a field, that was against their protocol. So then they took away his confession. They couldn't have it in, he literally took them to a body and was like, here's a body you didn't even know existed, and like they couldn't do him for it, which is really frustrating. And then her mum, who wrote the book, for many years, for for a lot of time, not like stupidly loads, but for quite a bit of time, she was like trying to fight for justice for her daughter, because it's like, he literally took you to the body. How is that justice that you can't have that as evidence? But yeah, very good. Watch, read, all that. I also watched the first season of The Lincoln Lawyer. This was a random one. Sometimes I'm like doing something and I want to put something on, but I can't be asked to like keep changing YouTube videos, or I don't really have anything interesting to put on, so I'll just find a random TV show and have it on, like I'm watching it but also doing other stuff. And that's what happened with The Lincoln Lawyer. But I very much enjoyed it. I watched the whole of the first season. I think I even got halfway into the first episode of the second season, so I will watch that at some point. But yeah, this was just like, it was about this guy who was a lawyer, and one of his lawyer friends was murdered and then gave him his practice. So it's like each episode he's doing his lawyery thing for people. He's a defendant lawyer as well, so it's like, we'll get the bad person off. Like throughout he's doing his lawyering stuff, but also there's an overarching like theme going on about one specific murder case, and also the lawyer that got murdered and like who did it, why did they do it, is he in danger, all that jazz. And yeah, I enjoyed it. And then the last thing I watched was a documentary, God Bless Ozzy Osbourne. This was a random one. I just sort of wandered into the room as it was on right at the beginning. I just stayed and watched the whole thing because it was really interesting. This is one from several years ago. I think it was like 2011 or something like that. I think there has been like a more recent one and then even more stuff's happened. But yeah, it was really interesting to see him growing up from a youth and then going into Black Sabbath, of course, and then becoming Ozzy Osbourne, as it were, and his family, and obviously all of his trials and tribulations, like drugs and alcohol and all that jazz. But yeah, I found it very interesting, so I stayed and watched the whole thing. Right, we're not halfway through, but we have done with the watchy stuff, so I'm just going to put a little cap clip in here, and then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about a bunch of stuff, so there you go. So, first of all, in October it was my birthday and I went on 2 trips abroad, so I've got a bunch of stuff to talk about. I did film vlogs for them both, but I've not even uploaded my vlog for Berlin yet, which was like 3 months ago, so I need to do that one first and then these two, so it might take a little while. It might take a little while, so I'll just like go through a few of the like main hits and then you can see everything that went on in the vlogs eventually at some point. So yes, first of all, I went to Wrocław in Poland. I went there with my mum and we went for 5 days and it was really good. I've been to Poland once before. I went to Gdańsk. It's like up here and Wrocław's down here. But yeah, it was really cool. So I'm just going to run down a few things. So we went to this really cool museum called Hydropolis. It's all based on water and it's just like so cool. It's all in different rooms, little bits, and then like in every single room there's just loads of really interesting cool things. Also the entrance, there's just like a whole wall of water spitting down and it's written in it. It says like Hydropolis and then it says hashtag 17 million, I think that's how much they got to, or 7 million, I don't know. I tried to Google what that meant but I couldn't figure it out. But like it has words in the water falling down and then when the door opens the water parts like that and lets people out and then it comes back. It's just really cool and that's just the entrance. But yeah, it was awesome. There was a bit with like really cool underwater fish and what's that called? Submarine and all that, and then about shipwreckages, and there was another one really cool, water like falling down in patterns, and it also had like smoke because obviously vapor, also water, and snowflakes, and oh my days, I can't remember the exact statistic, but I'm gonna put the picture here that I took of the statistic of how big the biggest snowflake, single snowflake ever was that was found, because it was insanely massive, like stupid. It's there somewhere. But yeah, it was just really cool. And then there was a bit about, oh, there was another bit where you walked through and it's just a really chill out room and it had the sound of whales coming through, and that door was just like vapor but with stuff written in it as well. It was really cool. Just the way it was set out was so interesting, and we wandered around there for ages and I very much enjoyed it. Another thing we did, we went to a cat cafe, because how can you not if you find one, and this was adorable. We went in there, we had a little drink, a little cake and a little play with the kits, and they were really cute. There was this one little one, I went on their Instagram and I couldn't see anything about this little kitten, so I commented on like the most recent post like, what's his name, who is he, you've not posted anything, and like there was this little kitten there, and apparently the owner's dad found this kitten at like 3 weeks old just in the road and took it in, and he doesn't live at the kitty cafe but he comes in to let off steam because he was just like fighting all the other cats. He was just running at them all even though they were all adults, playing for ages. I had scratches all over my hands, he was biting and kicking, and he was absolutely adorable, and so were all the rest of them. There was a little sink there, and every time one went up to the sink I'd turn the water on because they like drinking out of taps. I have cats, I know they like drinking out of taps, and they jumped up and had a little sup. And yeah, it was just really cute. There was one ragdoll, you know, when they have the really blue eyes, they're absolutely adorable. But yeah, it was really cool. And then on that day, we wandered around and we found so many dwarves. slash gnomes, whatever you want to call them. They're known by both of these words and many more words. But basically in Wrocław, there are just gnomes everywhere, like little statues about this big. You'll walk along and they'll just be stood in the doorway of different places, and they're all different, and wherever they are they'll be themed. So there was near hotels, there was like one in a little bed, and near food places there'll be ones eating the food, and near the bank there was one like at a little mini bank machine as well. They're just amazing. And the whole thing, it was like this, I can't remember the exact name of them, but there was like this movement in the 80s against communism, and like they started this whole gnomes thing, and then it just blew up from there, and anybody that owns a bit of land can commission one of them. So yeah, we spent literally like nearly the whole day just walking around finding gnomes, and it was time well spent, because also there's loads of cool buildings and like all the good stuff as well. And then we also went to the zoo. We love going to zoos. We seem to do it most times when we go on holiday because animals are cute, you know. And this one wasn't even planned in, but like when my mum saw it, she's like, there's a zoo here, and I was like, I thought you might say that. I didn't plan it in, but also we have a day that I haven't planned anything in, so we're going to the zoo, aren't we? And yeah, it was really cute, it was adorable. We got there pretty early, so it was nice to be able to see some of the animals that maybe you wouldn't have seen, like a fennec fox who was just stood there. I barely even noticed him with his massive ears and his tiny body. Adorable. And they had like an indoor, what did they call it, like an Africanasium, something anyway. And they had an indoor bit, and I've never like seen any, what's it called when you go to a wet zoo instead of a dry zoo? I've never been to one with big massive tanks with fish in. I can't remember the word. Aquarium, there we go, I do remember, I'm not an idiot. Yeah, so that was interesting, going through a little tunnel and seeing some dudes flying about, like sharks and stingrays and sea turtles and fishes and all that. And yeah, it was cool. We wandered around. It was funny though, because we didn't see the red pandas, and last time I went to a zoo we also didn't see the red pandas, even though they exist. I don't know why, they're elusive. For some reason, you just can't find them. But yeah, moving on. I came back from there, and then like 5 days later I went to Budapest, which is in Hungary. I did this as a solo trip because I haven't been on a solo trip for a little while, and I very much enjoy it, and I was like, you know what, I feel like it's time again. So I went to Budapest, and I went to a bunch of cool museums. There was the Budapest National Museum, which is the one I went to first, which told all the history of Hungary, and that was really interesting. It was really cool. It went back in time and showed you all the cool stuff. And then also like the Romans and all that jazz, and also it was just really interesting. And also the building itself was so nice inside. It had like this massive staircase walking up, and then it had like a massive painting on the ceiling that looked amazing. And yeah, I had a wander around there and did loads of looking at stuff. It was really interesting. And then I also went to the Natural History Museum. Again, interesting times. You got your rocks, you got your fossils, you got your animals, you've got all of that, and I enjoy all of that. So yes, that was a good time as well. And then I went to a thing called a zoo cafe, which you had to book in advance. You get an hour-and-a-half slot, and you go there, you order your drink and your little snack, and then every 10 minutes they just bring you another animal to just have on your table and interact with. So I had a snake, a lizard, a little mini tortoise, a guinea pig, and Colin the dwarf rabbit. I only remember Colin's name because his name's Colin. I'm not going to forget Colin. Like, some of the other ones had very Hungarian names, but Colin the dwarf rabbit, I remembered him. It was only his 3rd day there as well. He was adorable and so soft. But yeah, it was really cool, really nice experience. And then like the last half an hour you just got to wander around and interact with all the other animals that are there. There was loads of cats wandering around as well. There were a few birds, and there were other like lizardy type guys in, what are words today? Terrariums? Or is that just the one with the plants? I don't know. But yeah, there were loads of dudes to look at and cats, and it was really cute and it was really good. I really enjoyed it. And it's funny because when the guy brought over the little turtle guy, he was like, oh, keep an eye on your cake, he's really fast and he wants it. And I thought he was making a joke because he's like, haha, he's really fast as a turtle. He wanted my cake. He was like, kept running towards it with his little neck out trying to eat it. And I had to keep picking him up like this and just putting him a bit further away. And then he was like, give me your cake. Nope. Give me your cake. Nope. It was really cute. One day I just spent wandering about Buda and Pest. So if you didn't know, I didn't. There's the river there, and then one side is the Buda side and one side is the Pest side, and then that's why it's called Budapest. But yeah, one day I just spent wandering around looking at all the cool buildings and sculptures and taking loads of pictures, and it was very nice. I went across so many bridges, and then I went to a little cave tour. So this one, you had an app that you had to listen to because the guy was talking in Hungarian, of course. And then you just went through this cool cave and it told you about all the stuff and how it was found and what they call all the little bits, and like, oh, this bit we call the fairy tale bit because it looks like there's like a little Red Riding Hood over here, and this bit looks like this, and this bit looks like a little sea wreckage, and it's just really cool. Very much enjoyed that. And then from there I went to Margaret Island, which is an island in the middle of the river, which is really nice because on there's just loads of open space, like park space. And there's a little free zoo on there with animals native to the country that couldn't get put back out into the wild after being rehabilitated, like a bunch of birds that couldn't fly, and there was some deer, some rabbits, some horses, some birds of prey, and they were just all existing in this place, just living life. And it was funny because there was a sign on the thing and it was like, oh, if you see one of the storks outside the zoo, it's fine, he can fly, he will come back when he's ready. And like, if you see the animals laying down, don't worry, they're not feeling ill, they're just old or lazy. It was just quite funny the way they did that. And then it had this massive ruin on as well, which is really cool. Always love some ruins, they look so good. And yeah, it was a great time. I'm going to move on to one escape room that I did. So we went to do Violet in Escapologic in Nottingham, I think is what it's called. This one is quite a new one and it's a haunted house one. So basically, like this father and daughter lived in this house, and then the daughter Violet went missing, and then a few days later the father went missing, and then there's a witch about and you're having to try and get the witch away, get the Violet back safe. And the way this one was like presented was so cool. The way certain things changed, but like they utilized the space. I don't want to spoil it in case people near Nottingham or ever go to Nottingham want to do this one, but I really enjoyed it. I always enjoy the spooky ones because there's always more like atmosphere. But yeah, the way that the space is utilized in this one was really clever, which I feel like this escape room in general, like company, Escapologic, is really clever and good, and like utilising space and making stuff a bit different than what you'd expect. So highly recommend that company anyway. And then one more thing, yes, I will go soon. The last thing I'm going to talk about is one gig that I photographed, and that was Soft Play at Nottingham Rock City. So first of all, the support band, there was only one support, and this was Panic Shack. These are a female, like, punk, indie pop, mixture, vibe, fusion band from Wales. I wouldn't say they're my cup of tea, but I appreciate what they were doing. Like, live they were fine, but I wouldn't go out my way to listen to them. They're that sort of quite repetitive punk. So, like, relatable lyrics, so they're fun when you listen to the lyrics and you're like, haha, yeah, that's clever, but also, like, personally not my taste. So for example, one of the songs is called Baby, and they say quite a lot of times in that song, I don't want to hold your baby, which, like, fair, because who does want to hold someone's random baby? And then there's another one about meal deals, there's another one about, like, pockets, clothes, female clothes not having pockets in, all you want to do is hold your things. What, am I going to have to take a bag out now? Like, they're quite funny, lyrically wise, but musically they're not to my tastes. But I enjoyed photographing them. And then main band, Soft Play, great. So glad I managed to get on this gig, because I just very much enjoy them. I haven't seen them for a long ass time. Since they were called Slaves, I've not seen them. But yeah, amazing, great, incredible, lively. There's only two of them, but like they fill the stage and the crowd so well. They were in and out of the crowd all the time, like they normally are. All over the place, in the best possible way. Great times. But yes, that is October all wrapped up for you. Let me know down below if you did anything, watched anything, saw anything interesting, exciting in October. Let me know down there if you want. That's what it's there for, the comment boxes. Do the things if you want, like if you want, comment if you want, subscribe if you want, but only if you want. And yeah, I'll be back in a few days with another video.